All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started for everybody that's here. This is the UC application workshop. And a lot of this is for winter or spring admissions, but a lot of the information that will be shared can be used for any admissions, like just the dates will be a little bit different. So if you're looking to apply for UC admissions for winter or spring of 2025, you want to do. Just couple housekeeping things to note. If you're attending my Zoom, which we are today, just make sure you're muting yourself. Feel free to unmute and raise your hand. Use the raise hand option there, or just unmute to ask a question at any time. There's also the chat feature, so definitely feel free to throw a question in the chat if you have them. You can do private chat, or you can choose everyone to share a question. And then be sure to send yours to the AD and just go review the chat. To me privately, or you can actually send it to over by email to you. This workshop is a 2-hour workshop set aside for the questions at the end. You can ask them, and we can even do the private breakout room sessions if you want to show your screen. So just a couple of housekeeping, we'll get started. Highly doubt this will take that long as far as timing and a ton of questions. So we'll just get the presentation part and we will please ask any questions along the way. So first thing, our purpose for today. So we'll definitely make sure there's enough time to create an account if we need to create one while you're here. And of course, like I said, the workshop is set aside for extra time so you can work on the application if you so choose to. You're also always welcome to come into the University Transfer Center when we're open, which right now, Mondays and Tuesdays, we're open 8 to 6, and then Wednesdays and Thursdays till 4:30, and Fridays till 4. So you're welcome to come in anytime. We have computers in the center that you can work on your application, and then we're here to help you, have staff on hand to help with the application. We'll talk about the information that you need to start the application process if you have not started already. Definitely talk about important deadlines that you need to be aware of. And then we'll kind of go into some common trouble areas or areas of the application where a lot of questions tend to come up. This application is pretty straightforward. UC does a really good job of allowing what you'll see question or information sections if you have questions about it, and just making it pretty seamless to them. Of course, if there's any questions, you can answer those today, and of course, knowing your next steps after you apply for that. Not the ending, right? You have to from there. There's some more steps that you'll have to take all the way through being completed and then transitioning over to what we've seen. So if you do not have an account yet, you can go, that will go at the end to apply.universityofcalifornia.edu. That's where you will create an account for the UC application. If you've been working in the transfer admission planner, TAP, it actually is a separate account, separate login. So there'll be a point, and we'll get to that in the application, where you'll be able to log into your TAP and pull over all the information that you've been loading there into this application, but they are not the same at this point. So this is a separate one for the actual UC application when you're ready to apply. You've been in the UC TAP transfer admission planner, and that's just the preparation application. Apply.universityofcalifornia.edu. When in doubt, you can Google UC application and then see what you'll find. So a couple things to keep in mind, especially those of you who might be on the fence about UCs, you're not really sure if it's a good fit for you, or maybe thinking it's too expensive. Couple things that we want to note, or things that maybe you want to share with friends or family members that might be coming up after you to apply to universities. So the biggest highlight of the UC system that a lot of students are unaware of is the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan. And what this is it ensures that your tuition will be covered at any UC campus. So of the 9 undergraduate UC campuses, if you qualify for this, which you can see there, is for any family household income that's $80,000 or less, then tuition will automatically be covered at the UC. I know it sounds a little too good to be true, but it truly is. And they'll make sure that the tuition is covered with grants, or so that can be like if you get a Pell or a Cal grant, that covers your tuition, or if you're not qualifying for those for some reason, then the UC that you're gonna go to will offer a university grant, right? So one way or the other, that tuition, whether that's 13 to 15 to $18,000 a year, that will be covered if you qualify for the Blue and Gold opportunity. And you do not have to do anything additional outside of applying for financial aid. Your regular FAFSA or California Dream Act application will put you in the running to ensure that you get that Blue and Gold. So you'll never really see Blue and Gold when your financial aid comes through, but you'll see that your tuition is covered somehow. The UC application is really great. One thing I really love about it that unfortunately Cal State doesn't do yet is scholarship matches. So you do not have to apply separately to any scholarships. Within the application, there'll be an area where you get to select different scholarship opportunities that might be a good fit or match for you. And then your application will be reviewed for those scholarships at those individual universities. So really nice, takes the legwork out of it for you. Your personal insight question will be used for your scholarship matches. And we'll get a little bit more into the personal insight questions or PIQs a little later. More than half of California students who currently attend UC do not pay system-wide tuition and fees, so that's a big chunk. Probably a lot to do with that Blue and Gold, helping students, and then a lot of students do qualify for other financial aid. 71% of California UC undergrads receive some kind of grants or scholarships, so another big percentage, and the average award is nearly $18,000, which again, probably is that big Blue and Gold, covering that tuition. And then about 45% of California students complete their UC degree with no student loan debt. So another great advantage, again, probably coming back to the Blue and Gold. The average student loan debt is usually about $10,000 or less, which is not a whole lot. $10,000 or less than the national average, which is really good compared to what a lot of students end up with in terms of debt. And we can talk more about financial aid. Come in and talk with a counselor in your individual situation as you get closer to transferring, looking at budgeting, and we offer some workshops in the fall helping with financial aid. And then on average, 70% of California community college applicants have been admitted since 2017. No surprise there because UC is always looking at California community college students as a priority as far as transfer students go. And all the UCs a couple of years ago made a commitment to increase their transfer rates, wanting it about 2 to 1. So maybe for every one freshman admitted and maybe 2 transfer students. So that's been a commitment that they've been trying to all get to. And so of course their priority is going to be California community college students, over like another university student or a student out of state. It's going to be our California based students. So some good highlights there for UC and why you might want to consider it. Of course, if you're here, hopefully you're already considering it, but as your decisions or your admissions come through, some things that might help you in that decision. Items that you will need to get started, and it's okay if you don't have them today right away, but some things you'll need at some point throughout the application. Copies of all transcripts, and they don't have to be official, but you will be entering all of your coursework from any colleges you've attended. So if you attended multiple colleges, you'll need to make sure you have a copy from each of those colleges. So you don't want to just print out your Hancock transcript and then use the coursework that we transferred in. You want to have a transcript from that college, if it's Cuesta or Santa Barbara City or a university. You want to have a copy of that actual transcript because you'll enter it just like it looks on their transcript, not how we have processed it through here at Hancock. If you just attended Hancock, great. You just need a copy of that, which you can pull from your My Hancock portal. In the transcript area, there's a view unofficial transcript, and you can print it right there or just pull it up on the screen. You'll also need a copy of any AP, Advanced Placement, or IB exams that you maybe have taken in the past, only if you've passed them, if you have a 3 or better. If you didn't pass any, then they don't need to be reported on the application. You don't have to, you won't enter your UC transferable GPA, but it is helpful to know for a couple of reasons. Those of you who maybe were applying or did apply for a TAG, the transfer admission guarantee, you have to meet a minimum GPA based on the campus. So it's good to know what that UC GPA is. And then of course, just to kind of look and see, do you meet minimum? Do you look competitive? Are you at what, if you're applying into a major that is highly sought after, it's impacted, looking at, maybe having that higher GPA, or if you need to have a certain GPA to apply, into a major, or maybe the major prep has to be a certain GPA. It's good to know that. If you have questions about calculating your UC GPA, you can always come in and talk to us, because not all Hancock courses are UC transferable. All 100 level are Cal State, CSU transferable, but not everyone will necessarily be UC. A really good way to just get this help with this is to start with the transfer admission planner, the TAP, because there's a place in there where you can actually calculate. It'll calculate for you what it thinks the UC GPA will be. So that's a really big place to start. If you haven't done that, I wouldn't necessarily go back and do that and double up your work if you've already started on the UC application. But if you haven't started on the UC application, start with the planner, input there, and then you can transfer it all over to the application. You'll need to know or have an idea of UC transferable units that you've completed, what's in progress, and what you have planned. Mostly just to know if you need minimum, right, 60 transferable units. You'll need that by the fall, for those of you doing this one for winter or spring. And then, of course, making sure you meet any minimum major prep, making sure you meet your minimum admissions, your 2 English, your math, and at least 4 other general education courses, just knowing that you need that for minimum admissions. And then, of course, you'll need your intended major. And then I would definitely look at alternate majors. Most of the UC campuses allow you to choose an alternate. So maybe if you were not accepted into your first choice, they may evaluate you for a second choice. And if you are picking an alternate, you always want to make sure it's outside of the area that you're originally applying into. As in, for example, if you're applying into mechanical engineering, you don't want computer engineering to be your background. You're not getting into the first engineering, right? You're not a good chance to be looked at with second. So maybe if you were doing something like mechanical engineering, maybe math be the backup major, something like that. If you're applying into sociology, maybe you could apply into communications or something at the backup. So just something to consider when you get into the UC application. You'll be able to see the majors that are offered and look at what alternate. A lot of times, it will block out, like if you can't choose something that's alternate as well. And then for the financial aid, financial information, you don't have to enter it, but I highly recommend that you do, because that's the only way that it will evaluate you for the fee waiver, the application fee waiver. And so that will be your 2023 income and tax information. And then with the UC application, there is a section where it will have you enter any activities, work experience, awards, honors, and then if you did serve in the military, there'll be a section where you'll need to enter that. So you want to start kind of formulating that list of activities, history of awards, honors, anything that you might want to let the UC know about. Start thinking about that and know the dates and about how many hours you put in, because you'll see as you get into the application, it will ask those specifics. All right, some tips before you get started. Highly recommend you meet with a counselor for a transfer evaluation. I know right now in the summer, it's probably slim pickings because not everybody's on duty. But if you can get in before the end of the month and have somebody at least just do an eval to make sure that you are set, you're not missing anything, definitely try to do that. Start early. We're here early in the month. It's not due till July 31st for spring or winter and spring. And so get in as soon as you can. And then, of course, always double check your entries, whether you're having it reviewed by a counselor or not. Double check that. You don't want it to be an error to be the reason that you don't get into a campus, right? Which is why it's so important to have somebody review your application. Start researching your universities. Right now, it kind of makes it easy because there's only 3 campuses that are admitting for winter 2025. And I think one of those is spring. I'm trying to remember which one is. I think we're that might be in the semester system. So review the majors that are being offered. There could be some majors that are closed because it's not the regular fall session. So just double check that your major is going to be offered. Of course, know if there's anything required by your major, like a biology major. A lot of times there's private classes. Maybe they have to be finished by a certain timeline, like that in the summer. So just make sure you're checking that. And then make sure if there's any desire. So of course you have your required, and then there's that recommended or desired that's going to give you maybe a better chance of getting in. And that kind of information can be found both on assist.org if you've been using that, or of course directly on the UC website. Go directly to UC Riverside, go directly to UC Santa Cruz, and look at admissions and look by your major and see if there's anything additional. And then it's pretty rare, but sometimes there'll be a supplemental application that's required. Know what that is. That's usually like dance or music. If there's like an audition or some kind of art, we have to turn something in. It's usually when that might pop up. Otherwise, it's probably just going to be the one UC application due by the end of this month. Every application that you do submit is $80. That's why I was saying it's highly recommended that you put your income information in to see if you qualify for the fee waiver. Because if you do, you can apply to up to 4, which is there's only 3 open for winter, and you can apply up to 4 universities for free. If you end up turning around and applying for fall, if they decide not to go for winter, and you're going to apply this fall, October, November for next fall, and you will still get those 4 again. It's for every application cycle. So if you use them up now, don't worry, you should get a whole new wave of free applications come fall if you end up turning around to apply. And it is embedded within the application. There's nothing additional you have to do. You just have to make sure you fill out all that personal information and the income information. And then when you get to the page where you start to select the universities that you want to apply to, it will show you if you have qualified. I'll show, I believe there's a page here. Some other tips, just stay organized. And the best way to do that is to start a transfer file, especially if you're going to be applying to multiple campuses. I am old school. I like a little paper file, print things out, but even at the very minimum, make sure that within your email, you create a folder that has applications, 2025 applications, whatever it might be. And anytime you receive communication from your campuses, pull those into that file so that you know where to go when you need to find an email. Say you need to go back and look at an account you created or a password, or they sent you a deadline. Make sure you know where you're not having to sift through hundreds of emails, right? You can go find it easily in that email. Plan, like I said, to have your application reviewed by a counselor. That could be done on a drop-in, especially right now since we're kind of limited on appointments. If at the very least you can try to at least get it reviewed on a drop-in to have a counselor get their eyes on it. When creating an account, very recommended to not use a school-related email, mostly just because they know students tend to check their personal email more than their school email. If you have your school email forwarding to your personal, and you can find. Also, we know you're going to have access to your personal email a lot longer than maybe a Hancock email, right? So if you haven't created an account yet, highly recommend that you just do the personal. As you're going through the application, there is a timeout after 20 minutes if there's like no activity. So make sure you're trying to click and save, the save and continue button at the bottom of each page as you work on it. It should automatically save for the most part, but just in case like you got timed out, just so you don't lose all that work. And then there are some additional tips at this link, which you can find on the UC application website for applying. Those are kind of the biggest tips right there. A couple other things that you will want to check out at some point, especially as you're looking at specific campuses and some of the programs and support services. But you can look at support services, things like students with disabilities, non-traditional students, veterans, transfer students. There's all the UCs, I believe, now have transfer centers. So a lot of opportunities and support programs. You can check that out on the UC website. For undocumented students and veterans, we just specifically put that link there for you, since those tend to be popular support services needed, but that was on that same page on that top link, campus programs and support services. So either way you can get there. Definitely undocumented students. There's also a lot of resources at the UC campuses for those students. So application level, really, really important. This is an area where students tend to mess up, which I totally understand why, when they're selecting their application level. Of course, you already know you're going to be transfer. If you graduated from high school and you've taken college classes, then you'll always pick that. Junior level standing, it says 60 to 89 semester units. And I know sometimes students will get confused because they'll think I'm right up to 60 and they'll accidentally do your sophomore, or even more so, 90 or more units. Because maybe here at Hancock, you have taken 90 units. You still will not be a senior level transfer. That's only if you actually attended another university and accumulated a bunch of units. So when in doubt, you always want to select junior level. You're going to be at that at least 60 units, and they're going to take a max of 70 anyway. So you're right in there. If you accidentally select sophomore or senior, you'll notice a lot of majors will black out where you won't be able to select them. If you see that, then there's red flag. I probably selected the wrong status. So just something to note. But everybody here at Hancock, for the most part, should be junior level. There are some instances where we have students who are sophomore or senior. Just talk to a counselor if you think you're in that boat. And it just means it limits your options that are out there, but it doesn't mean you won't be able to apply. Okay, couple notes about the application as you're going through. Like I said, there's a lot of help throughout the UC application. So there's always up at the very top, the help option. And then you'll notice a lot of the questions will have the little I with the information, button. That's a great place if you have any questions. If you click on it, it's going to give you more detail if you have any questions. If it's still not answering it, then of course you can always come in and call them. You can call the application or the center or the UC campus that you're applying to, or you can of course start with us, and usually we'll be able to help you. But that's a really helpful tool all throughout the application. Navigating the application, you'll always have that kind of home page with that navigation bar where you can jump through if you want to. It's nice because it will check it off. I guess this one didn't show. Yeah, here this one shows where it'll check it off when you're done with the page. So that makes it nice to see, which one you're done with. It won't let you submit usually if you haven't completed all the required sections. It won't let you. It's going to keep doing this. Right? There's an error. Are you sure you want to move on? And then you can skip if you're like, no, I have to come back because I need to get my parents' income. You can come back, or you can so you can continue or skip it for now, or you can continue working if you realize, oh, I missed something on that page. But you can always come to that home page, that navigation bar, and jump around if you want to, let's say, put in activities and awards, and then come back to your document. So you can navigate in any order. I recommend that you just go through sequential so you don't miss anything. You try to knock it out that way. On this page, the review and submit. Don't be afraid to select that because there's still a lot of steps you have to do to actually submit. But this is a nice view of your whole application. So if I were to click these and open them, it would show what I've entered in each of those sections. So it's kind of a nice overall review, or you can print it. Of course, you can go print version and it'll show everything. So I like to go to that, review and submit. Just to see this page. And then when you're ready, you'll actually start the submission. There'll be quite a few questions you have to answer before it'll even let you start the submit. So you're okay to do that at any point. Of course, you can sign out, at any time from up here, go to your application status and move over here. Another area where students tend to have missteps is your country of citizenship. And this is for our AB 540 undocumented students. You should choose no selection for your country of citizenship if you're an AB 540 student. Meaning if you are paying in-state fees, or probably no fees if you're on one of the promises, here at Hancock, that means that you are an AB 540 student and you would want to pay no selection here. And that will ensure that they review you as an AB 540 student and make sure you're not paying out of student. If you accidentally mess up here, it's not a big deal. It's just going to be steps you'll have to take when you get admitted to get it put back to in-state fees. What will happen is it will charge you out-of-state fees, which of course are a lot more expensive. And if you're an out-of-state student, you may not qualify for certain things like the Blue and Gold. And so just make sure if you're in that situation, no selection. And that is different than the Cal State application. So that's something we'd like to highlight here for those of you who might be applying for Cal State in office. It has you do a little bit different there. Family size and income. So remember, I said this is really important to fill out to ensure that you will be reviewed for that application fee waiver. So this should be, just think of it in terms of how you fill out your FAFSA or your Dream Act. in terms of how many people, you know, are living at your address. And then income based off of what's on your tax information. And again, it will be 2023, right? If you're dependent, then you're under your parent information. So keep in mind, I know sometimes students will feel like they're independent because they don't rely on their parents for providing for them. But remember, based on federal standards, federal guidelines, unless you're over the age of 24, you have a spouse, you're married, or you have a child, a dependent, or somebody that you take care of more than 50% of the time, military or were military, or are foster youth, if you've ever been a foster youth. If you're none of those things, then no matter what, you need to be putting your information in as a dependent applicant, meaning you have to provide your parents income and household information. If you're independent and you're by yourself and you're one of those things, maybe you only reach 24, or you're married, then it would just be yourself or you and your spouse. As far as this goes. Again, this is for the application fee waiver. It's not going to connect with your facts of by any means or your dream, but you want to try to be as accurate as possible. And it may be something to look out for some of the scholarships as well. So like I said, once you put all that information in, when you get to this page where you're selecting your universities, it will tell you if you qualify for that fee waiver. Another big way you'll be able to know is if your estimated cost, right, is 0. Or if you put in 5, then it may say 8. It's very old. It's $70. So it went up to $10 each. So $80 each, or 4 campuses for free if you qualify for that. So you do have to enter the size, family size and income in the About You section in order to see this. So sometimes students will have to skip that because they don't know their parents' income and they're like, it should be bigger. It will not show it until after. Like I mentioned earlier, you will have this page where you can connect your application from the transfer admission planner. So if you've been working on that tab, the transfer admission planner, you'll have to log into that account. Remember, that'll be a different login and password. And that will connect, it'll ask you, do you want to transfer over all that information? So any academic history that you've entered there will come over. So you do want to make sure you use the same email address or it won't know, right, to connect those two. Academic history, entering academic history. So whenever you do get to this section, whether you did it in the TAP or you're going to do it here in the UC application, it's really easy. It actually has all the codes up here for you. If there's anything that you need to know. The biggest thing, of course, is you're going to be entering all of your grades from all the classes that you've previously taken. And if you're in any summer classes, of course, it will be IP for in progress here. And then if you have any plans for fall, then that's where you'll put the PL. If you have any withdrawals, you'll use this WI. We don't have withdrawal failure here at Hancock, so you won't have that if you only have Hancock coursework. If you have other campuses that have that will be the one. We do have excused withdrawal, so make sure you're doing the EW instead of the WI. If you have an excused, which you'll see noted on your transcript. No pass or no credit. Ours, I believe that ours is no pass and then pass. If you did credit, it's not a big deal. It's going to be the same thing, but try to match it to your transcript. Very rarely will you have an incomplete, but if you do have that. For the most part, right, you'll be putting in those grades. So you want to enter all coursework that's listed on your transcript. So whether it's transferable or not, then you need to enter it there. If it's not showing up, because if the UC application is great, you just open up that section, right, of the class that's you're taking administration justice and accounting. It's going to pull up the options that we have here at Hancock. It'll only pull them up if they're UC transferable. So if it's not on the list, then you'll scroll all the way to the bottom of that page and there'll be a manual entry where you'll have to enter those because they're not UC transferable. But the UC campuses want to see every class that you've taken. So they want to make sure that you're listing everything so they can see the whole picture. If you did petition for an academic renewal for a D or an F, make sure you do choose the AR. And don't report that to your app overall GPA. you're not sure if you have, or you are, ooh, I want to look into that, and maybe getting an academic renewal, make sure that you see a counselor ASAP. Something that's very different from the Cal State application to the UC application is if you do have a repeat, you do enter that grade as if you got the F or the D, just like it looks. And then the system is smart enough to pick up that repeat. So then you would put in the A or the B, right? So I'm just here, it's showing the music 100 with the F, and then maybe you repeated it then with the D. Since that's still not passing, then you obviously probably. And you'll notice here it'll say if you've since repeated it, please repeat that, letter grade once you put it in, so they can repeat that. And then, like I mentioned, if you look into that academic renewal, this should not change. Obviously, you want to try to get that academic renewal done by the end of summer. As I mentioned before, there'll be a section for scholarships. So it will only offer up scholarships based on the campuses you have selected that you're applying to. So if you go back and you decide to add another UC, let's say you add 2 and then you're like, oh, I am going to add 1 more. Make sure you come back and review the scholarships because there could be new ones added. So you'll open up each of those sections, and I highly recommend looking at every one because you never know what you might be able to check. And so it will be things like, I should have had this open. It might say transfer student or working student while in school. It might have you affiliated with a certain organization. Do your parents, or they CHU-MAP, part of the CHU-MAP. What's your major? And so if you're a business major. So it will have all those options. Select as many as you think that you might be eligible for, because you just never know. So select those, and then like I said, they'll use your UC application along with your personal insight questions to kind of help to see if you qualify for any of those. And then that will populate into your, when you get admitted and you start matriculating and you have your portal for your UC and your financial aid is showing up, your scholarships will go into that. If you are interested in applying for EOP, which is, there's a nice little description here. It's a lot like Hancock's EOPS. So if you're in our EOPS, definitely apply. But if you think that you qualify based on what you see here, for the description, which is essentially a program to serve students who are first generation, so first in their family to go to college, and are from a low income background, financially disadvantaged. Great program to apply to. It's going to offer additional support, academic help, financial assistance, counseling. You'll have your own center you can go to on the campus. Check that box, and then there'll be a little, just a real short area for you to kind of share why you want to apply, why you're interested in that program. Also very different than the Cal State. It's just a quick answer, where Cal State's is a little bit more thorough for their people. If you have questions about that, you can always talk to us for the EOPS program here on campus. Activities and awards. So for this section, keep in mind, yes, it's important. You want to enter stuff if you have something, but it is not as detrimental as a transfer student as it is for freshmen. Just because they know transfers, you've only had so much time, right? Maybe you've only been here 2 years, maybe some of you 1 year. There's not a lot of involvement maybe you've gotten into, or maybe you have a lot of work experience, but you haven't had a chance to really do a lot of extracurricular because you've been focused on your academics. UC is definitely looking more at your academics than anything. However, if there's anything that you do have to share, put it in. Any little thing. You made the dean's honor roll while you've been here at Hancock, that can go under award or honor. If you've been in EOPS or MESA, then educational prep program, you could put it there. Any extracurricular activities, if you're involved in hobbies or clubs or sports outside of school, that's what you can put in that extracurricular area. If you have any volunteer community service, and then of course, like I said, the work experience, paid or unpaid. Enter that, especially if it's related to your major, then that's going to be really a highlight. Technically, you should really be focusing on everything post high school, because that's really what they're looking for transfer students, not so much what you've done in high school. However, if there's something from high school that you really think lends to your major or to what you're trying to do maybe career-wise, I wouldn't be afraid to put it in there. right? It doesn't hurt to add it. You don't want to go crazy, right? Just adding little things that won't matter, but if it's something really that highlights, maybe you've been involved in FFA your whole 4 years of high school, and now you're in college and you're looking to go into something ag, obviously it would bode well to show that you've been involved all those years. You may also end up writing about it in your not all the UCs maybe will look at this, but let's say your application is a little borderline and they want to learn a little bit more about you. They may come here to read and see, what they can learn, or definitely for the scholarships. So the personal insight question and this area may be something that they look at to look and glean on, what you've done to see about the scholarships you might qualify for. You can enter up to 20 in this area. Don't feel like you have to. I sometimes have students who have just 1 or 2 things, and that's okay. Don't start kind of trying to make up things just to fill space. You only want to put, what you think is going to be meaningful in this area. So that's why start now. Start brainstorming, writing those things down. Because sometimes you forget about some of the things that you were involved in, and so you want to start to jot that down to jog your memory. Personal insight question, again, important, but not the most important thing when it comes to transfer students. Not all campuses will even review them for transfer, to be honest. If you meet the minimum GPA and have the academics down, they may never even look at this. But for scholarships, it's a good, place to think about that. Plus, this writing can really help prepare you if you're going to be writing personal statements for other scholarships. So just keep that in mind when you're writing these. Unfortunately, since it's summer, we don't have any workshops for these. Those of you who might be applying in the fall, definitely go to those workshops that we offer for the PIQs. But we can help you. I would recommend using the Writing Center too. English instructors, getting their feedback. Start brainstorming, start filling out. An outline. Start doing an outline of what you're going to answer, because for the UC transfer questions, you have one that's required, which is related to your major. Please describe how you prepared for your intended major, including your readiness to succeed in your upper division courses once you enroll at the university. And then you get to choose the 3 other questions. And there's a whole list. You can go to this Word doc actually that will help you with your plan. And it shows you all the questions that you can choose from. They're really not that long, 250 to 350 word max. You don't want to go over that limit. I won't let you, I can get stopped soon. You do want to start writing your personal insight questions in a Word document separate, and then copy and paste them over when you're ready, because of that timeout, right? You don't want to use any more, especially when it comes to these PIQs. So just start brainstorming, think about, what you think would be good for them to know about you. So really, no one question is right as far as like those 7 you get to choose from. It's whatever you feel like is going to share the most about you, right, in your personal life. So just keep that in mind. And then describe how you prepared for your intended major. I know sometimes that can be hard for students. They're like wanting to repeat, like, here's the classes I've taken, which is fine, right? If there's some key classes you feel like you want to talk about. But hopefully there's other ways that you can share that you prepared for your major, maybe outside of class, maybe in an internship, or maybe something, maybe you're an art student and you have built a website or something, or you've entered contests. Just ways that you prepared, and academically, right, knowing that you're ready is what they want to know, that you're ready to start a new efficient class. So I know that one can sometimes be tricky because you feel the need to kind of just miss the classes you've taken, which is fine to highlight some of those, but you don't want the whole thing to be about that. Really recommend that at least 3 people review your statements, and more so, obviously, more eyes on it, the better. But in this situation, we really recommend you have somebody who knows you really well, to know that you're being authentic and true. And then you want to have someone maybe who doesn't know you so well. Maybe go into the Writing Center and have just a stranger there review it, so they can look at it from an outsider's perspective, which is what the UC readers will be, right? An outside perspective. And then someone who's really reviewing it for grammatical errors and making sure it flows and everything sounds going to flow. They don't have to be pretty. Obviously, you want to have couples and periods and that kind of thing, but you can't use special characters in here. So you don't want to be cheesy, of course, with like your, have a quote at the beginning. And I mean, you can if it really resonates, but you want to try to stay away from that kind of stuff. and just really be true to who you are. This is your interview, right? They cannot interview everyone. So this is the way that they can get to know you through your writing. So just start early on that and start getting that ready. Come in if you have any questions. After you apply, if you have not applied for financial aid, which most of you should have already for this next year, because you're applying for the 24-25 academic year. If you have not done that, make sure you apply. And then if you already have applied, add all the universities to your current FAFSA or DREAM Act, so that your information will go to those things, right? So as you're admitted, you'll be able to see your financial aid. And if you need help with that, you can always come in and we can help you at those universities. Start researching and looking into additional scholarships. I know summertime might feel like a little slow time for those. You can go on Hancock's website, our financial aid website. You can go to the Transfer Center website. We have scholarship information. I would start looking at each individual you see, although it's embedded in here, so there probably won't be a whole lot on their financial aid pages. Into your local community, where you work, where your parents work. Just start really looking around for some options for that. Never too early to start researching and looking into housing. Most UC campuses guarantee some kind of housing, at least the first year. So that's kind of nice. So look into that and see if that's an option. Never eliminate on-campus housing as an option. Always keep it open. So when you're applying, if it ever asks you if you're planning to live on campus, say yes. Or when you're doing your FAFSA or DREAM Act, make sure there it's indicated. Just because you want your financial aid to come through to show the aid for that on-campus living, you can always decide, I'm not going to live on campus and leave it off, and that's fine. You can always change that later. But there will be deadlines for on-campus housing, or maybe even local in the area. So make sure you know those deadlines when you get that information. Most campuses will have you create a university portal, since it's a pretty quick turnaround for winter admission. That'll probably be pretty soon. Once you apply, they'll probably send you thank you for applying, email, follow-up information will be coming, and then they'll probably send you a link where you'll create that university portal. And then you want to make sure you do that. And that's where you'll be going to check up any updates, if you've been admitted, if there's next steps you need to take, if there's documents due. You want to be on now consistently checking that UC portal. And if you apply to multiple, you may have to check multiple portals. They will not always necessarily just email you. Sometimes you'll get an email and it's in the portal, but sometimes you'll just expect that you go to that portal and you're checking what we call your to-do list. Always check your email often after you apply, because there, again, maybe some next steps that they'll send you through that. Or sometimes at the UC campus, if there's missing information or there's something that they need clarified, they'll likely send you an email and say, hey, we need to know a little more about this, or you have until this deadline to go into your portal and update this information. You don't send any transcripts unless it's requested by the university. Most UCs don't request it yet or right away. For winter, it might be a little bit earlier, but a lot of times they won't request until you've been admitted. So don't waste money sending transcripts over right now until they ask you. And again, that will either be email and or in your portal under your to-do list. They'll be in that will say official transcripts. So that's when you have to send official, not unofficial. You'll order them through your My Hancock portal, and then they'll send directly from Hancock to that university. So you may have to send a set sometime in early fall, potentially, for them to verify everything you've stated. And then you'll usually have to send, not usually, you will for sure have to send one more at the end of fall for winter admission with all your final grades, if you're going to be enrolled in the okay. So what you'll do in here, you'll go into your transfer planner if that's where you started. And then from there, you'll be able to link into, I want to go to UC application. If you have not created an application, then you'll go to the UC, apply, and then you'll log in from here. And you can create an account, or you can go ahead and log in. If you have any further questions here for the University Transfer Center, feel free to come in. You can always come in or give us a call. We're 922-6966, extension 3363. And also follow us on social media. That way we'll post updates. So thanks for tuning in. Again, if you have questions, stop by the Transfer Center and we'll see you soon.